think it's over now. You're wrong.
All aboard the night train.
It's over, Prime.
This is the siege.
I'm a man of my word.
Hey. Yeah. Dead or alive, consider this home. No killing the vibe in the night watch zone. Xenomorphs hype when the lights come on. Hit a like and subscribe and the show might blow. Go viral, no COVID. It's a spiral emotions. Hand on the Bible. Only go sign and the dopest your vitals. Better tune in, yeah, you know it's vital. From Schwarzenegger to Kane Hodder. Corey G down to Harry Potter. Shit's Sigourney Weaver, love the night watch zone. Come with me to the night watch zone.
Well, there are two things a man should never run from, even if they cost him his life.
Welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. We're ready to rock and roll right on into Battle World. What's going on, everyone? Corey Anders with me, Killian, and Eric as always. And guys, tonight, yes, indeed, Kill. This is like what is it? A 20-year-old vendetta.
Oh man! Oh man! Oh man!
Oh yeah, baby!
Been waiting for this one.
We've been debating this forever, and tonight we get a chance to get a step closer to resolution. Tonight's the night, bro. For you guys in the chat, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We appreciate it. Just to give a blanket hello and see who we have here. We got Phillips in the chat. What's up, Philip? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Russell's in the house. Russell's in the house quick, man. He says Resident Evil for the win. We're starting early. We are starting early. Melissa's in the chat. What's up, Melissa?
What's up?
We got Kenny in here saying I love both these movies. All right, but I love Alice more. Resident Evil for the win. Here we go. Fry Dave is in the house. What's up, Fry Dave? Good to see you. Let's see. Who else do we have in here? Jerry's in the chat. What's up, Jerry? Hope you're doing well. Good to see you. Let's see. Who else do we have in here? We got Brian. Brian's in the chat. Good to see you, Brian. Hope you're doing well. All right. And look, guys, we've talked about a lot of different movies. We've talked about a lot of iconic characters, not only in the horror genre, but also the action and sci-fi genre. And tonight, we're going even further into the weeds, so to speak. So this should be a lot of fun. But before we get into the fun, we got to know who we have in these corners. So Eric, I'm going to start with you. Tell us who we have in corner number one, bro.
Well, you know, when there's a huge viral outbreak, the most important thing is to contain it, right? Well, the problem is when you put AI in charge of the containment, all bets are off. And if they got to sacrifice a bunch of people, so be it. Well, like we always do, we send in a group of mercenaries and some survivors as well to investigate. The problem is they are also now contained with the after effects of the virus and a little bit of experimentations, and creations that they had no idea what was in there for. Tonight, representing the Umbrella Corporation and Resident Evil, we have Alice.
All right. Okay. All right. Coriander, who do we have in the other corner?
Okay, so sometimes you got to stalk the night with style. Throw on some tight-ass spandex, prep your weapons, jump off buildings with ease, and hunt down some werewolves. Nobody does it better than this sexy death dealer. Just remember, don't cross her or you'll get pimp slapped and bitten. Here's Celine from Underworld.
All right.
Nice.
Okay. Sounds good. Kill. Look, man, let's go to Kill's commentary here, man. Let's just let the folks know what's at stake here.
Guys, this one, me and Knight have been debating for a very, very long time. So I'm so glad you're all here to witness this. And as we always say, there will not be any lying here. We will be
There's never
100% impartial, despite one movie clearly being better than the other. But this is going to be a good one. This is going to be a good one, and I am stoked, man. I am so
That's
stoked.
right. That's right, man. This is going to be, as they say, a barn burner, baby. That's what
A
this is
slobber
gonna be.
knocker.
There you go. There you go.
Damn.
And Kill. Wait a minute. Wait, I think I hear something, man. I think I hear something happening. Maybe someone coming to the arena. Maybe.
I hear some zombies chasing Alice or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and some werewolves that sound like they're really weird coming down the hallway. Okay, all right. So for you guys in the chat, for you guys watching the replay, sit back, relax. We're heading to Battle World. Rise. There it is, baby.
Very nice.
There it is. I love it. Let's get down to brass tack.
No, he's
He
too
lo-
excited.
He loved it so much he
He's-
froze on you.
He's too
Oh
excited. folks.
no.
See?
He was about to say, "Let's get down to brass tacks."
Dang.
We broke him, folks. We broke him.
Yeah, of course. He's been waiting decades for this battle, and look what happens. It looks like he's got to wait a little bit longer now.
And,
Poor man.
yeah, good things come to those who wait. And yeah, we have been talking about this one for a long time, and that's why he's so excited to finally be proven right or wrong. And you guys in the chat will help us do that.
Yeah.
There he is. You back, Knight?
Okay. We got Jerry stepping up to the plate, sending in a sorry, it's not a super chat, gifting a membership. Jerry, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Seriously, it makes a big difference. Let's play this one for you. Thank you so much, man. Seriously.
What are you, deaf? Don't try that Halloween shit with me.
There it is.
Oh, Bucky.
Good old Bucky. That's right. Stepping up to the plate. All right, guys. So you guys know how this thing goes. We are going to be going through each category and giving our points to the movie that we think wins the category. For you guys in the chat, definitely let us know what your pick is. But if you send in a super chat, you'll be guaranteed that we will check your message. But also, more importantly, you'll be able to give points to the movie that you prefer, each by $1. So if you send in a $5 super chat, it would be 5 points to that movie. So let's get ready to start this thing. As always, we're going to be starting with the poster. So Kill, we're going to start with you with the poster. So tell me which one you're going to go with. We've got the Resident Evil poster here. And of course, we have the Underworld poster here.
Okay, so we're starting easy streak right now. I guess I have a slight bias because I actually owned one of these posters. I'm going with Underworld. Just because I like kind of how basic it is. The giant moon there with the shadow of the wolves barely in there. You can kind of see it. And you got Kate Beckinsale looking, doing her best Neo of the Matrix vibe.
That's right, Trinity. Tell him.
And I also love the lettering of Underworld with the crystal blue there. So, yeah, I got to go with Underworld.
All right. Okay. How about you, Eric?
I like them both in their simplicity. I love the eyeballs behind Mila and Michelle Rodriguez, but I'm also gonna go with Underworld because it looks more sleek to me. You know what I mean? And what I love the use of the colors, the shadows, and I never noticed it before. The lichen in the moon. This was the first time I've actually noticed. So that's a really cool detail, especially if you've never seen the movie before. And I love how the word Underworld is kind of a 3D effect, like coming towards you. You know what I mean? The blur effect. So I really, really like that. So going with Underworld.
Okay. All right. How about you, Coriander?
Yeah, the Underworld is hitting it better for me than Resident Evil. So, yeah. Yep.
Okay. All right. For me, I also have to go with Underworld. I think that it has, it's the simplicity of it. And also, it just has this cool effect, being that it's at nighttime. But I think the font and the coloring on the font, I think that is a really cool added feature. It just looks like really otherworldly, and I really dig it. But also the lichen and the silhouette of the lichen is very, very cool. It's subtle, but it's there, and it's really, really cool. So I have to go with Underworld as well. Real quick, in the chat, Elm Street's Last Brat in the chat going with Underworld. May's in the chat going with Underworld. Let's see. Kenny is going with Resident Evil. Russell is going with Resident Evil. And Philip is going with Resident Evil. Okay. All right. Now, real quick, before we get to our next category, Kill, one thing that we didn't do yet, I want to make sure that we do. We got to talk about the tale of the tape for these movies. All right. So
Yes.
we're going to put this up here, man. Tale of the tape. Okay. So, I'm going to start off with Resident Evil here. We've got at 5'9", statuesque, 130 pounds, a soldier, a revived soldier, 6 films. Mila obviously is the actress, and the franchise has garnered $1.3 billion worldwide. How about for Underworld, man?
Okay, so for Underworld, she's a vampire, so her age is infinite. Her height is 5'7".
There you go.
Her weight is a 119. She uses her guns and teeth and her brain. 6 films to the franchise, raking in about 539 million, and it's played by the great Kate Beckinsale.
There you go. All right. I just want to make sure that we got that out there to get this thing situated. So, Kill, let's also move into our next category. When we talk about these films, it's always really, really important to make sure that we talk about the taglines. Okay, so for the tagline for Underworld, stalking the night, and then for Resident Evil, we have the virus has gotten out. The virus has gotten out. What are we going with, man?
They're both kind of generic to me. I'm gonna go with Resident Evil on this one. Just because it's a little less generic. The virus has gotten out, which it's gotten out and caused people to be turned to zombies, and they gotta cure it. So I'm gonna go Resident Evil on that one.
All right. Okay, Eric, how about you?
I'm gonna be a little bit more mean, and I'm gonna say they're not just generic; they're both kind of lame, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go with Resident Evil as well, because at least you can put pieces of the puzzle together with what the movie's about. It's about a killer virus. With Underworld, who's stalking the night? What's stalking the night? It seems like there's no effort put into it. So I guess by default, I'm gonna say Resident Evil.
Okay. All right. Coriander, how about you?
Yeah, this one's kind of interesting. Say it again. I gotta hear you say it
Stalking the
again.
night, or the virus has gotten out?
I'm gonna go with stalking the night. I'm sorry, but the virus has gotten out. I mean, it's no better. So.
Okay. All right. Okay. Very, very cool. And Jason, we got Jason in the chat. We got D also in the chat. Welcome to the show, guys. Hope you're doing well. And also, if you haven't already, please make sure that you hit the like button. It helps to support the channel. Philip is going with Resident Evil. Russell is going with Resident Evil. Kenny is going with Resident Evil. Melissa is going with Underworld. Mayanne is going with Resident Evil. All right. Okay. Philip, Coriander always being a rebel. I know, man. I know. All right, guys. Let's go to our next category, kill. We're going to talk about the opening of the film.
What about you?
As always,
did you choose the tagline night?
Oh, I didn't. Okay. I'm also gonna go with Resident Evil.
He's just so excited. Is what it is.
Yeah, I think that it has, I don't know, it has a little bit of more of a nefarious tone to it. So I'm gonna go with Resident Evil as well. Okay, kill. We're gonna talk about the opening, which is always the first couple minutes of the film, could be up to 15 minutes. Basically, the big scene that starts the movie. So, who you got for this one?
This one is actually tough because I feel both movies do an excellent job of thrusting you into the world and kind of, they just get moving. Resident Evil, you're in the hive and you're seeing the virus being created, people coming into work, getting coffee, drinking, eating donuts,
right?
And it gets out, and then people start to get aced out. But
Quick.
Underworld, you not only have narration by Kate Beckinsale talking about centuries of the war between the Death Dealers and the Lycans. She's jumping from perches like she's in Gotham City. They're having
or the Matrix.
Yeah, well, they're having shootouts in the subway like the Matrix. And yeah, man, people are getting aced out, taken hostage, and it just looks so freaking cool. And they're shooting sun bullets and silver bullets. So yeah, I got to go with Underworld on this one.
All right. Eric, how about you?
Yeah, this is very tough because they're also so very different. One's more action oriented than the other. Right. I'm gonna surprise some people. I'm actually gonna go with Resident Evil, and here's why. Don't get me wrong, I love the action is fantastic in the opening of Underworld. I like the small buildup that we have in Resident Evil. That opening shot of when we have the lab and it gets closer and closer and closer. And then I love the way the music is used. And then I'm wondering why the hell is why is the elevator going on the fritz? And that scene when it kills the lady, decapitates her. And then as a fan of the game, I love the little Easter eggs in the buildup. Okay, we see the dogs in the cages. We know what that means if you played the game. So that's getting me, antsy. You know what I mean? I can't wait for that type of stuff to happen. So I think with the buildup and being a fan of the game, you say what you want. I think that's going to put it over Underworld for me.
Okay. All right. Coriander, how about you?
So unfortunately, I didn't play the game. My daughter did, but I didn't.
Let me just say this.
Right, but I'm just saying I can't compare it to that.
Hold on. I want to say this for the live chat as well, because they may be thinking about this. We are only talking about this movie versus the other movie. We're not talking about the game. We're not talking about
I get that.
Novels or anything.
Some people might
for the live chat.
Right, but for those hidden Easter eggs, that's cool that the people who have. I'm not saying anything bad against it.
Right. I just wanted to make sure I said
that. Yeah. I'm going to go with Underworld.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
For me, I think that, both of the openings were really good. And like you said, Eric, they were very different from each other. But that being said, I think that Resident Evil does a lot more, you know what I mean, as far as setting up the whole plot point of the movie. And when you first watch it, especially if you haven't played the game, it does a really good job of setting up this whole thing into the lab. You actually get invested in those characters for a couple minutes too, because you're like, oh, are they going to be able to get out of this thing? And of course they don't. So then of course when Mila comes into the picture, it's kind of like, okay, now what's happening now? And when you realize that they're going down into the hive and down into the research facility, it's like, man, I guess what I'm saying is like the anticipation of it is really, really the thing that draws me in. I remember seeing it in the theater, and man, it was just like, wow, okay, what's going to happen next? And that was all just from the first 10 minutes of the movie, not to
Mhm.
mention the fact that it was really eerie and the music. I think you said that too, Eric. So I'm going to go with Resident Evil on that one.
I liked
All
one thing
right.
that they did do is I like how you find out that it was intentional that the virus was what came out. It wasn't an accident. You actually see someone throw the canister type of thing. So that's something
Right.
new because usually it's just like a medical experiment gone wrong type of thing.
Right. Good point. In the chat, we got Russell saying Underworld for the opening. All right. Philip saying the opening Resident Evil. I can't remember what Underworld's opening is. All right. Friday saying Resident Evil. That elevator scene was good. All right. Melissa is going with Underworld. Okay. Kenny's going with Resident Evil. Elm Street's Last Brat going with Resident Evil. Surf's in the chat. What's up, Surf? Good to see you. Let's see. May's going with Resident Evil. Okay. And we got our buddy Steven's in the house. What's up?
Hey,
And
Steven.
hey, everyone. Mila Jovovich is the queen. This is the way. I like that.
Preach it.
Mandalorian. All right. Okay. And May also reminding people, definitely, if you haven't yet, please hit the like button. It helps to support the channel. We'd appreciate it. All right. Okay. Let's go to our next category, Kill. We're going to be going to the music. Okay, which one you got?
Oh man. See, this is tough because I love the music in both, but it's different. Underworld has a lot of like kind of licensed music and synth music that's used very well. But Resident Evil has a lot of these like little themes that are just kind of earworms in my head, like the hive scene, that like just I hear it as I'm talking right now.
Right.
Man, I'm gonna have to go with Resident Evil, just for like the beats that they put in for certain action sequences, like when the guy is dodging the lasers, like that music, it just in that corridor shot alone gets you into it, and then he gets aced out. So yeah, but I'm gonna have to go with Resident Evil.
Okay. All right. Eric, how about you, man?
Yeah, I'm siding with Kill Resident Evil. It's the music is great in Underworld, but I think what really gets it is the creepiness to a lot of the score in Resident Evil for me. Is again that opening scene, those little tings. I don't know what the instrument was, but you know exactly what I'm talking about when you see that like the guy behind the glass, and then it's zooming in, and just it's just used perfectly. And the fact that Marilyn Manson was helped with the score, he knows how to do the use of those type of instruments. So I think that also is what helped make the music so memorable. So I got to go Resident Evil.
All right. Okay. Coriander, how about you?
So unfortunately, I really don't remember the music. Well, at least not throughout the whole movie for Resident Evil. So yeah, I'm gonna have to pick Underworld.
Okay. You remember the music for Underworld?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, that's too bad. I think both.
Is
I
it
think
though?
both. Well, yeah, because you're not able to really, speaking of which, well, that's
Well,
okay.
that just
You
tells
don't
you
remember
I
any
was
of the music?
invested in more of the scene and what was
Well, I know
happening
you've
than
seen
the
the other one
music and paying
more.
attention to it. Well, no, I was talking about Resident Evil.
That's slick. That's a slick way to do it. But I do think both of them have some great music
It's true.
and different music cues. And they both, I think you said it killed. They both have, licensed music and kind of utilize some different things going on and so forth. But I have to agree, guys. I think Resident Evil not only has like that really intense, rock type of music and certain scenes, but also its own musical cues, like in that corridor. That's exactly the first thing that came to my mind when I thought about the music going into the hive and stuff like that. So for me, it's got to go to Resident Evil for me on that one. Real quick too, in the chat, just to catch up with these guys, Russell's going with Resident Evil. Mayanne is going with Resident Evil for the music. We got Steven going with Resident Evil for the music. Melissa going with Resident Evil. Philip saying Resident Evil, the music makes me think of the games. Oh, there you go. All right. Friday as well, going with Resident Evil. Let's see. Steven, that's way too bad. I love it. Oh, too funny, man. Okay, let's go to our next category. Kill. We're going to be talking about the supporting characters. So obviously, when we talk about supporting characters, that does not include Celine or Alice. Okay, so what do you think?
Well, see, so Alice has a lot of help with her. Okay, Celine really does not. If anything, her own people are trying to kill her. So I'm gonna have to go with Resident Evil and Alice on this one. You know, she has Michelle Rodriguez as Rain, her whole team, the ones that at least don't get aced out. You know, so yeah, I'm gonna have to. This is an easy street. Resident Evil. She has way more support because she needs it.
Oh, jeez. Come on, man.
Shots fired. Okay.
You know it's not true. Okay, Eric, how about you, man?
Well, I'm going to go with Resident Evil as well, but not because Alice needs the help. I'm going to go with because there's honestly, there's just more memorable characters in the film. You know, Michael in Underworld is okay. You know, other than Bill Nighy, I can't really remember any other of the characters other than, you know, I know that the guy's name is Craven, the villain, but he didn't really do much for me. You got Michelle Rodriguez being, you know, Michelle Rodriguez. I liked Eric Mabius. I thought he did really good. You know, I really like him. And then I can't think of the character who plays the one who gets the laser net. For as little as he's in that movie, he's really, really good. So yes, I think there's just more attachment to the supporting characters in Resident Evil.
All right. Okay. Coriander, how about you?
You know, with Resident Evil, it's just like a body count. So, I mean, for me, I kind of enjoyed the supporting characters in Resident Evil, I guess, because, you know, you learn about some of, you know, that goons who's the super werewolf vamp dude. What the hell's his name? Who were they after? The werewolves?
Lucian?
Anyway.
Oh, Mike Lucian.
Yes, Mike. Him. So, thinking of that, I lost where I was going with that. Damn it. But anyway,
so you're picking Underworld because you said Resident Evil.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm saying Resident Evil it was more for me like a body count. You know, the supporting characters, I don't know, they just really didn't do it. They were just there trying to, you know, be sneaky with the hive and trick the little girl and all this shit. So yeah, okay. I don't know. I just liked Underworld better.
Okay. All right. Wow. For me, I think this is an easy one because, you know, I think in Underworld, although, you know, Scott Speedman was pretty good, but, you know, I think that he was limited in this particular movie. Of course, we're not talking about the rest of the franchise. We're only talking about this movie. And, you know, you kind of said it, Eric. There wasn't really anyone else that, you know, really, you know, had that charisma and stood out. Whereas with Resident Evil, I mean, you've got Michelle Rodriguez and you got, like you said, he was awesome, even in the small role that he had. But his charisma, he's always good in any movie he's in.
Yeah.
So those guys just stood out. Like when people, yes, there was a body count, but as some of those guys were dying, you know, and especially Michelle Rodriguez, I was kind of like, oh man, I can't believe they're actually going to kill her and stuff like that. So this is an easy one for me. I got to go with Resident Evil on this one. What were you going to say, Eric?
I was just thinking off the top of my head, wow, you know, the actor who plays Paul Anderson really likes chopping him up, doesn't he? Because he does the same thing to him in Alien versus Predator, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. That's a good call on that, man. D's going with Resident Evil. Russell's going with Resident Evil. Kenny says Michelle Rodriguez. Enough said. Resident Evil.
Good point.
May's going with Resident Evil. Friday is going with Underworld. Wins this for me. All right. Philip saying Resident Evil. Love Michelle's character. All right. Let's see. And D is going with Resident Evil for the supporting characters. Elm Street's Last Brat also going with Resident Evil for the supporting characters. All right. All right. Let's go to our next category, Kill. The story. The story of the movie. What do you think, man? And who's getting the point?
Okay, I'm going with Underworld on this.
That was
And
quick.
yeah. and my reasoning is, I am a fan of the video game. Now I know we're not talking or comparing it to the video game, but my biggest gripe with the story is they kind of picked and chose certain things from the game, weaved it in, and then kind of created their own lore around it, which is fine. It's fine. It's a good story for the movie. But Underworld story for me, there's more stakes. There's like lifelong enemies. There's lore to enemies that they thought were vanquished. You have vampires that are in slumber and they have their own hierarchy of who's awake to rule while the others slumber for a century or two. And there's also Celine and all that she's gone through all of these ages being a vampire. So I just think in totality, it's just a bigger story with so many branches and just so much lore and universe building that they do just in this first movie. So I got to go for Underworld.
Okay. All right. How about you, Eric?
Yeah, I gotta agree with Kill. I don't mind a really sleek and trimmed story, which is what Resident Evil is. Virus gets out, people try to figure out what the hell went wrong. I like that there is a whole lot more in Underworld. I like learning the backstory of a little bit of what Kate Beckinsale is dealing with. I love, like I said, I'm a sucker for like a vampire hierarchy. You know what I mean? Who's in charge now? Who will be in charge later? I like, someone from that world trying to usurp, the next guy in charge. All this stuff I think, is woven in perfectly. I really, really dug this story in Underworld. So it's, in my opinion, no comparison.
Okay. All right. Real quick, too, before I get to you, Coriander, we got May saying for the story, she's going with Underworld. Friday also going with Underworld. Kenny saying, see, I like the story for Underworld, vampires versus werewolves, but Resident Evil has a more harrowing story with the zombies and that racing against the time to find out what's going on with the T virus. Okay. All right. Coriander, how about for you?
Yeah, I agree with, what both Killian and Eric said. So definitely Underworld.
Okay. All right. For me, I do like both of the stories, because they're doing some different things. Obviously, with Underworld's story, it's kind of a situation where it's the vampires versus the werewolves. So you kind of know what you're getting into with that story. But of course, they stylize it, which is what was a nice twist to it. With Resident Evil, if you have not played the game, which that's what we're assuming, you're just trying to figure out what's going on as it goes along, because you're wondering in this research facility, why are things happening? Why was the virus let out on purpose? What's going on in the hive? But then more importantly, what's going to happen if they aren't successful, which it looks like that pretty early on. I mean, they start getting aced out pretty early on. So, it's basically that idea of the zombies and the zombie apocalypse. That being said, I have to go with Underworld on it, because I think the one thing that was really, really cool, and it gets into it beyond this movie, but even starting the storylines in this film with the lore, I thought it was some really cool stuff that they did. And like you were saying, Kill, like with the hierarchy of the elders and all of that type of stuff. And of course, this whole war between the Lycans and the vampires, the twist
Plus
of
the
it.
forbidden love. You can't forget that. So,
Yep, there
right
you go.
between
I mean,
the two leads. Well,
right.
Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah. So there was some multiple things going on with it that I think was really, really cool for the story. So I got to go with Underworld on that. Okay, real quick, let me get to the chat here. D is going with Underworld. Russell is also going with Underworld, and we got Melissa going with Underworld for her. Philip going to Resident Evil. Elm Street's Last Brat going with Underworld. Okay. All right. We got a lot of different, again, in the chat, kind of right down the middle a lot. Okay. Next up, Kill. We're going to be talking about the director. Obviously, for Resident Evil, it's Paul W.S. Anderson. For Underworld, it's Les Wiseman, who both of these directors were married to the lead actresses. So that was kind of interesting too, man. So what do you think, Kill?
I'm gonna have to go with Underworld, Les Wiseman, only because and let me preface this: I love bottleneck films. Resident Evil 1 is a bottleneck film. It takes place almost 99% in the hive, and it's great. I love it. Whereas Underworld, you're in so many different areas of the city, you know, the slums, you're in the underwater, you're in the vampire covenant houses and things of that nature. And then on top of that, and also the lichens in the sewers. Then on top of that, Les Wiseman also is handling all the tech and the high-tech weaponry that they're using, you know, silver bullets and what was it, solar neutron bullets or something.
Yep.
You know, it just, to me, was just a lot more going on with Resident Evil, and I mean with Underworld, and so many different characters with their own motivations, and just a lot of different actors, great actors that he was juggling. So yeah, I'm going with Underworld on this one.
Okay. All right. How about you, Eric?
Great points, but I'm gonna go with Resident Evil. No disrespect to the director, was it Les Wiseman?
Yep.
But I'm already a huge sucker for Paul W.S. Anderson. Whether it's the great movies like Event Horizon, you know what I mean,
right,
or the not so great ones like AVP or Mortal Kombat or even Soldier, you know what I mean. But that notwithstanding, I just like some of the stuff he does behind the camera. I've already talked about that opening shot, that pan in. I like some of the shots like when they're in the train and it's just a close up of Mila holding a gun up to the ceiling, but the background is just spinning. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't know if he did like the
scene.
Brian De Palma, put her on a platform and spin it or something like that, because it looks pretty flawless to me.
Yeah.
I just liked a lot of the things he does behind the camera, some of the close-ups, you know, some of the Easter eggs, and even if you didn't play the game, okay, why is he focusing on those dogs? Okay, you know, so he's setting the stage for something that's going to happen later. So I'm going Paul W.S. Anderson, Resident Evil.
All right. Okay. Coriander, how about you?
I'm gonna go with Underworld just because he had more that he had to work with and put together and make it work, and he did for me. So yeah.
Okay. All right. For me, you know, this is a tough one because I think both of these directors did some really, really good stuff. Obviously, as a director, you're not always in charge of, you know, things like set design and all of that type of stuff, but they do a lot of times have input, like you were saying, Eric, on the shots and stuff like that. So I got to go with Resident Evil on this one. And you said something that was really, really interesting because Paul W.S. Anderson, I think he has a really good visual style. And with the movie, with his visual style and the movie adapting a game and all that type of stuff, I thought it was a good fit. But I think he had a lot of stuff that he was doing, you know, because you had these multiple characters, you had a team of soldiers, and granted, some of them were just getting wasted to get wasted, but a couple of them had different things going on. You had the soldier who obviously had to be tested with his courage. You had Michelle Rodriguez, who was the tough, you know, badass soldier that, you know, was dealing with the fact that she got bitten. You had the betrayal, you had the twists and turns in it. And I think there was a lot of stuff going on. Of course, with Alice coming into her own, obviously we know what will come after this film, but the arc that she had in this movie was a really cool arc because she started out basically as a passenger in that first like 15 minutes of the movie. And then all of a sudden she rose to being the hero, and she had very specific scenes as that was happening, like when they were destroying the motherboard of the Red Queen, and she's like, look, let's just do it. And she was the one, not the soldiers, that was like, hey, let me take charge. So all of that is because of what the director is crafting. So I think that he did a little bit of a better job than Les. So I got to go with Underworld on this one. All right. Real quick, just to jump into the chat, we got Elm Street's Last Brat going with Underworld. All right. We got Philip going with Resident Evil. Let's see. May is going with Resident Evil for the director. We've got Russell with Resident Evil. Friday is going with Underworld. Man, this is like right down the middle. This is crazy.
Yep.
Julie's in the chat.
Love it.
What's up, Julie? Good to see you. Hope
Hey.
you're doing well. Let's see what else we got. And I think that I have caught up to everyone. Okay, let's go to our next category. The better CGI. Okay, so both of these movies have CGI. So which one had the better CGI?
You know, I was watching both of these earlier today, and I was really critiquing that. I'm going with Underworld, and it's a little bit unfair because Resident Evil came out before Underworld. But Underworld learned some lessons from The Matrix. And also, the majority of the movie for Underworld is dark, and that helps it a lot because I'm not the biggest fan of the lichen design. You know, it's just something about it. The transformations are a little too fast for me. I'm old school, and I know Coriander can appreciate this. You know, shouts out to Werewolf in London. But
Oh yeah.
oh yeah. But
Yeah, those transformations, man. Wow.
Yeah.
But you know, there is good CGI in both movies, but I think it's a little bit better in Underworld. So going with Underworld.
All right. Okay. How about you, Eric?
Yeah, I can't deny it. I got to go with Underworld. And see, here's the one problem. Like when I first saw these movies, it was like DVD. So once you upgrade to like Blu-ray and then 4K, you know, that type of stuff that was hidden in DVD, you can tell a lot better. And I watched these both on Blu-ray. And Kill's right. It's just a little better in Underworld because it is so dark. You know what I mean? A lot of the lichen transformations is in the shadows. That liquor is in full light, and it's, you know, God bless them. They did what they could with what they had, but it's very, very noticeable every time that liquor is on screen. And if you're comparing the two, the liquor is what takes the points away from Resident Evil for me. Got to go Underworld.
All right. Okay. All right. How about you, Coriander?
She's still shocked.
Coriander, you there?
Do you know you're on mute?
She might be. She might be gone. I don't know.
Okay, I'm
for
sorry,
me-
guys.
It's okay.
Okay.
You all set?
So, yeah. Sorry. Kid duty. Okay. So, CGI. Oh, I totally have to go with Underworld. The one thing that killed it for me and the other movie there, Resident Evil, was those monsters. Not the dogs, but those damn monsters. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. For me, I've got to go with Underworld as well. Really, the only thing that I think was not done very well with the CGI was the transformations, unfortunately. You know, and that, of course, you know, a lot of that is budget, and also the fact that using CGI at that point was the way that things were going, as they were trying to, you know, save time and all those types of things. You know, as the series went on, I think things were better. But for this first movie, that was really the main thing that got me, was just the transformations. But fortunately, like you guys were saying, there was a lot of darkness throughout the whole movie, which was fine. You know what I mean? With Resident Evil, I think that, you know, obviously the liquor was the main culprit. I think everything else was pretty good. I do think that, you know, for the zombies, I think they did a pretty good job with the zombies, the infected. And I know some of that was CGI as well. So it's kind of close for me, but I got to go with Underworld, just barely on that one for me. Yeah. Let's see. D is going with Underworld. We got May going with Underworld, and also Elm Street's Last Brat going better CGI is Underworld. Philip going Resident Evil. All right. There we go. Cool. Okay, our next category, Kill. The Scarier Threat. The Scarier Threat. So obviously, when we do this category, it's basically, because I know in the past, some people in live chat, they'll say, well, I'll do this, I'll do that. Okay, so you are in the situation. Okay, you are, you know, whatever, someone that is in the city, and there's obviously this war between the lichens and the vampires. And then in the other side of the coin, you are down in the hive with the infected. Okay, so which is the scarier threat?
Okay. the only reason why this is tough is one is more of a bottleneck,
Right.
situation, and the other one is a city. As far as the threats in Underworld, the vampires are a threat and the werewolves are a threat. They both could kill you. They both could eat me. But I guess in this circumstance of you being in the bottleneck, I'm gonna have to go with Resident Evil because you're stuck in the hive. There's a time limit on when it's gonna seal permanently, and everybody who worked in that hive is currently dead and is a zombie and trying to kill you. And on top of that, bad CGI liquors.
All right,
Resident Evil.
there you go.
But a
All right.
vampire or a werewolf in totality is a scarier threat. But in this circumstance, Resident Evil.
All right, there you go. Eric, how about you?
I'm also going
But
to go
you
with
know, go ahead, Eric.
No, go ahead. It's fine.
No, that's
Go
all
ahead.
right.
It's
That's
all right.
No, I was just gonna say, man, but you got a whole city where you can hide in Underworld,
Yeah, of course, but if you're in the
and
proximity
if you got
of a
some
werewolf
silver or you
and
got a
they have a-
steak,
that knows, they're gonna sniff
joking.
you out, and the
That's true.
vampire is gonna sense your blood and whatnot, and just mesmerize you and kill you. Whatever.
Okay,
Go for it, Eric.
All right, go ahead, Eric.
I'm also going to pick Resident Evil because even if it's daytime or I have some silver, I think the scarier threat is inside that hive because not only do you have the zombies, not only do you have bad CGI liquors, you also got those damn dogs, and you got the Red Queen herself, where if she's having a really bad day, you're screwed. Look what happened
Right.
to one. He thought he was, safe and sound, and what she do? She does that little spider web thing. There's no way,
know.
and she was just toying with them. She could have done that first thing. You know what I mean? Took
I
them all
know,
out at
right?
once, but she was playing with them. So, based on just the Red Queen alone, going with Resident Evil.
That's a good point. I didn't even mention the Red Queen. You're all right.
Mhm.
Okay, Coriander, how about you?
Yeah, between these two, obviously they made me see my way, and I'm gonna have to go with Resident Evil. Yeah.
Okay, all right. For me, I think here's the other thing too. Like, even if it wasn't just in the hive, with that virus basically, infecting everyone, you basically in your classic zombie situation where it's numbers, it's like,
Mhm.
what are you gonna do? So I think that's a scarier threat. Because now we're basing this upon what's in the movies, right? Because in the movie for Underworld, it's not like the lichens and the vampires are just acing people out for the fun of it. It's some of it is very, hey, you're just in the wrong place, wrong time. So, but for me, I definitely got to go with Resident Evil. And Eric, you made a good point too, because the Red Queen alone, that's a bad situation if you're stuck down there, because she
Mhm.
just went homicidal. She's just like,
Mhm.
hey, I got to make some choices here, and you humans are not part of the equation.
And she already tells them. She says, "You're all going to die down here."
Yes. In the chat, Kay just said that you're all gonna die down here,
See?
the Red Queen.
I know.
That's too funny. Let's see. D
Good timing.
going to Resident Evil. Horror Cat's in the chat. What's up, man? Saying zombies is the scarier threat. Kay said Underworld and the lichens and vampires minding their own business underground. There you go. All right. Too funny. Friday saying the T virus is scarier, especially being trapped underground. Okay. All right. Next up, the more interesting lead between these movies. So we basically have Celine and we've got Alice. So the more interesting character in these movies, Kill. What do you think and who you going with?
That's an interesting question. Interesting. Well,
basically just the characters, as far as how they're presented in the movie, if they have a character arc, if they have, variations in what they do, that type of thing.
Well, Alice, she doesn't know who she is for about maybe the first half hour of it. And like you said earlier, she kind of grows into becoming the leader of the squadron. As far as Celine, she is kind of one note. but I still am going to go with Underworld and Celine for the sheer fact of she falls in love with a guy who essentially is kind of a werewolf or can be both. It's like bloody Romeo and Juliet here. He falls in love with him, but sort of betrays all the vampires by going against their wishes and, resurrecting a certain leader and kind of disobeying him. And then finding out, like, so much that she knows of their lifelong battle was a lie. And she just kind of grows into her own and becomes her own woman and kind of does her own thing. So, and she kicks ass through the whole movie. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Underworld.
All right, Eric, how about you?
Now, I agree with everything Killian says because I do love Celine, but I'm also going to base it on the way you've worded it more interesting. And I'm going with Alice. And this is why I really like the mystery behind it, because we're figuring things out with her. You know what I mean? I like, not just the fact that she knows how to fight type of thing. You know what I mean? I like that she was trying to take Umbrella down. And we don't find that out until, well, at first we don't know if she is the villain or not until we find out who her air quotes husband was. So I like that little mystery to it. And I just like how she took charge. I think there's more emotion from her because Kill did kind of say Celine is one note, which isn't a bad thing. But, there's more emotion like early on from, when Alice is yelling at the soldiers in the room with the laser, get them out. And then, just the way she would fight at the end. So, and then like her relationship with Rain at the end, you know what I mean? They just met in the very beginning. Rain would have punched her in the teeth, but now there's like a sort of respect and friendship at the end. So I'm going to go with Alice.
Yeah, that's a good point too, because she was really invested in Rain and also the other guy that got bitten and really trying to save, really trying to save them. Okay, good point, man. Coriander, how about you?
So I am going to go with Alice because one thing that sealed the deal for me, especially with this question, was the fact that they were testing on animals. And she, that's like no need for that shit. So yeah, that's why I'm picking Alice.
Okay. All right. In the chat, we got May's going with Celine a tad bit better. We got Troy in the chat. What's going on, Troy? Hope you're doing well. Kay saying they're both interesting. That's true. We just have to pick one.
Yep.
There we go. Friday going with Celine. All right. And by the way, if you guys have not hit the like button, please do. It helps to support the channel and the stream. We'd appreciate it. For me, I think obviously there are two different types of characters, right? They're playing what they're supposed to be playing. And I think that Kill, you made a good point with Celine as far as this whole thing, as far as going against her own lore, as far as with a werewolf or a lichen or whatever we want to call them. And that was a big thing. And as far as her background and how she became a vampire and basically her whole reason for being so invested in this war. And of course, we find out later on in the movie that there was betrayal in that as well. So there was some good scenes in that. With Resident Evil, Eric, I think one thing you said that was really good is the mystery of it. So we're following this movie through Alice's eyes. We're discovering it as she discovers it, which was, pretty interesting as you went along. So for me, I gotta give the edge to Alice. And I think the biggest reason is just because of the fact that she showed so many different sides to her character, and I thought was fairly effective at the mall, whether it was just being badass and the action, being totally, in the beginning of the movie, she was literally not only a passenger, she was almost like a victim. Like even in Mila's eyes, you could just see that she was freaked out and scared when she got taken down into the hive. And then, just that transformation as time went on, and then also caring about the soldiers that were still alive with her. Like she really wanted everybody. She even said that. She said no one else is going to die, so her character had a lot more angles to it. So I got to go with that. Okay. All right. Let's go to our next category, Kill. What is your favorite scene in either movie? Your absolute favorite scene?
Man, I have so many from both of these movies. But there's no lying here. The first thing that popped in my mind was the scene with one in the corridor with the lasers. And it's like every time I see that movie, which is not a lot, but whenever I get to that, it's always this, oh man, do I remember the order of where they got aced out or where this guy made a mistake? Did he jump too soon or did his fingers get chopped? And just the scene, and I'm upset that we keep calling him one because I've seen that actor in so many things. He's in video games, he's in TV shows. He's a great British actor. The scene where he does the pull-up and totally inverts his body.
Yeah,
and the laser cuts off the tip of his knife. I'm like, that is just cool. And just for that, you deserve to live. But then the Red Queen is a cheating bitch. All right. She fishnetted him, literally.
She did.
And
Colin Salmon.
And
there we go. I was just looking that up. Yep.
Thank you, sir. You are an icon. And just when the lasers go through his body and the screen kind of pans back and it's blurred, but you just see he just becomes a pile of cubed meat. It's like, damn. So yes, that's my favorite scene.
Yeah.
Good one. Eric, how about you?
You know what? I always say the first one that pops into my head. It was the laser scene, but you know what? Not to copy kill. Again, it's also going to be Resident Evil because I love the sequence, the whole sequence in the train. Bad CGI liquor or not, I think that's a great action scene because they're fighting the liquor, plus they're also dealing with a zombified rain. You know what I mean? So they're dealing with these two things while they're trying to get to a destination. Poor Kaplan, you think he's dead earlier. He shows up to save the day just to get pulled out of the side of the train. So there's so much cool stuff. And then just the way, like I said, Anderson just films Mila. She's the star, but he doesn't shy from that. But like I said, that spinning effect behind her with the sparks and everything, it flows together so well. So Colin Salmon notwithstanding, I'm going to go with the ending scene in the train.
All right. Okay. Coriander, how about you?
I have to go with Resident Evil also. And I am going to do the laser because, that is like the best scene. And
so cool.
It is.
It deserves, some recognition. So totally. Yeah.
When Colin has that oh shit look on his face when he sees that net.
And he even says it.
Does he? Okay.
Yeah.
And and I just love when you see him falling apart and hearing it. And
look, it really does sound like it thuds of meat hitting the floor.
Look, Jigsaw would be proud of that trap. All right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Good point. For me, I gotta agree. Well, first of all, I'm gonna go with Resident Evil. Because when we saw it in the theater, and I'll never forget the corridor laser scene. Like you had no idea what was gonna happen, and everyone's invested. This is a great scene where you had, the main players kind of all involved. And obviously I think that might have been the first scene, if I remember correctly, where Alice really kind of started to step up, get them out of there, do it now. What are you doing? And Cap was freaking out, right? Cap, I'm trying. I don't know why he's doing this, and it's like that was the moment when Alice kind of stepped up. But again, our boy won. When he did that almost that Michael Myers maneuver, lifting himself up, I was like, that was so badass, right? And number one, and this is why I said like for supporting characters, like because the more I think about it, him alone, not even just counting Michelle Rodriguez, but him alone, even in his limited time, I was on board with that dude because he has that type of charisma. He's a cool dude. He has that charisma. The camera loves him. But once he did the pull up, I was like, okay, is he gonna get out of this? And then all of a sudden, the fishnet, and before it even hit him, I was just like, my jaw dropped because I'm like, because you were so invested in him. That's a credit to his acting. It's like, wait a minute, he's gonna get killed. So that scene, I can remember even the audience in the theater was like, what? So that was like that oh shit type of moment. Credit to Underworld though, because there's a lot of great scenes in Underworld as well. I love that scene where we were talking about this, me and Coriander, where she was shooting the circle around for the floor, and then she goes down.
Yeah.
A lot of nice stylized scenes that Les Wiseman had set up for Kate Beckinsale. But overall, that laser corridor. I mean, look, it was so iconic, and I know we're not talking about the other movies, but it was so iconic they even had to pay homage to it in the future films, later films.
Yeah, they did.
Yep.
And nothing even had to happen. Like Mila was just looking down the corridor, and it was kind of like, you already know. You know what I'm saying? That's how iconic it is in this franchise. So definitely got to go with that. All right. So real quick, let me catch up to the chat. And you guys also let us know what some of your favorite scenes are as well. Let's see. Kay is going with Resident Evil. The first time that they encountered the zombies, that it really was a good one. That was a really good scene because
the zombie with the broken ankle and the axe,
which was, to me, let me know what you guys think. I think that was an homage to Dawn of the Dead.
I was wondering if there was a scene,
with the weird ankle. I
thought so.
There were a lot of homages. There was even that homage at the end of Resident Evil when it said "The Dead Walk." That was an homage to Day of the Dead, George Romero's Day of the Dead. So they knew what they were doing. Mayanne is saying, all she said is the laser.
Yeah, that's all you gotta say.
That's all you gotta say. Friday Dave said the laser death trap. All right. Russell going with the zombie dogs. Yeah, that was a good scene too, man. Kay is going with Underworld when Celine bites Michael. Yeah, that was a good one. Philip saying when Alice fighting the liquor.
Yep.
All right. Danielle's in the chat. What's going on? All right. Underworld for favorite scene, the scene where she went all slow-mo with her jacket. How many times is that? So I loved it when she threw the basically like the ninja stars. That's such a great scene. Like, it was cool, man. Let's just be honest, both of these ladies, they did a hell of a job in these movies, and it really, I think it really shows that, number one, you can have these characters, these leading actresses be in these big franchises, these action franchises, and do a good job, because both of these franchises have done so well. Both of them 6 films, and they probably need or deserve even more credit than they have gotten, I think. They both did an excellent job. Let's see. Horror Cat saying the first zombie encounter is my favorite, and the slow build up to the first reveal. It was a good scene. Russell's in the chat. What's going on, Russell? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. That's right. And that's right. Horror Cat said Russell's in the house. That's right, man. Very, very cool. Okay, let's go to our next category, kill. Going into the action quota. All right. So for this one, basically, which film had the variety of action and how it was shot and how it looked and all that. So which one are you going with?
Wow. They both have great action, and I feel they both are very shot in a stylish manner. I'm gonna have to go with Underworld, because even though I like the way the shots are in Resident Evil, like very tight and so forth, in Underworld it's hard for me to explain it. Underworld to me has a color palette of blue, sort of like when I watched like John Wick, and with them really riffing a lot off of the Matrix, because they do. They do. With Celine, like her gunplay, things of that nature. It's like the action is not only physical, but also the shooting action is really stylish to me. And and it sounds so silly. A movie with vampires and werewolves shooting silver bullets and sun bullets at each other, but it looks so freaking cool. And it just has great action, and also has some great chase driving sequences are in this as well. So especially when Lucian kind of comes in, and it's like he's a whole nother level of like, oh shit, this guy just has like a sword that just pops up from his hand and his arm and whatnot. So I got to go with Underworld on this one.
All right, how about you, Eric?
Both are great, but I'm gonna side with Killing and Underworld just because it looks cooler. You know what I mean? And that can have an effect on which you prefer. I mean, I love my shoot 'em up, zombie flicks, but this one just looks cooler. The like he said, the color palette. I love how the UV bullets look. Just stuff like that. Matrix or not, those slow motion shots look really cool. And I love that you brought up that chase scene with Lucian. When he pulls out that blade out of his coat. I mean, I thought of like the guy from Spawn, if you remember him. He has that secret blade, and it's just Lucian was he. How do I say? It's a really, really nice, but Lucian, that scene was like the icing on the cake, to use a cliche. So that is another reason why I would put it above Resident Evil. So,
okay, all right, Coriander, how about you?
I am also gonna go with Underworld. Yeah, it had way better action for me. And yeah, there you go.
Okay. All right. For me, I think you guys said it pretty well. I think both of these have some really good action, and Eric, you said something that was definitely on my mind, because with Resident Evil, you do get that vibe of like Aliens. You've got the soldiers coming in, they know what's up, they know what they're doing, they got the tech, they got the experience, and oh shit, they're getting aced out. What are we going to do? How are you going to survive this? And so there was some really cool stuff. Not to mention, there was some cool hand-to-hand combat, which was pretty cool. Some good kicks and stuff like that. So I think that's the thing that makes this really, really close. But that being said, I have to go with Underworld as well. And I think the reason for that is because, you're taking this lore, this vampire lore, this werewolf lore, and you're just amping it up, with the weaponry, but also it was some cool stuff that they were adding, like you guys have already talked about with the silver and the sunlight and all that type of stuff. Like, it was just really, really cool stuff. Plus, and Kill, you're right, when you have car chases or car scenes involved in a movie, I'm always a sucker for that. We were just talking about Maniac Cop last night, and that had a really cool car chase with some good stunts. So I definitely dig cars in the film. So I got to go with Underworld on this one for the action quota. All right. Cool stuff, man. Let's get ready to go to our next category. And real quick, before I do that, May is saying Underworld takes this category. Friday also going with Underworld, more stylish with the action. That it is. Thank you, Matrix. Russell saying Underworld all the way. True enough.
You keep saying that, but you got to remember, these vampires, I believe that they can do these moves. I mean, these people in the Matrix had to take fucking red pills and blue pills and tripping out.
I mean the way it's shot with the slow-mo, though. Kind of.
I get it.
I mean, like we were talking about that before you got on, before we went live. It's definitely inspired, and that's not a bad thing. I'm just saying it's definitely inspired by the Matrix.
It's not even that. Believable, though. I'm just saying.
Leather and the latex and everything, or I should say, latex.
They were doing that way before, the other movie. Think about it. You had Catwoman.
Before the Matrix? Well,
yeah,
I'm talking about with the long trench coat and stuff. Come on, man. We're right.
They took from
the
Matrix. Michelle Pfeiffer was doing it way before Neo.
And even before her.
Okay. All right. So
like back in the Pow Bam days, I can't think of her name.
So, Kill, who's your favorite supporting character between these two films? Your favorite supporting character, the guy with the person, that you would choose.
Okay, let me ask. Does this supporting character have to directly interact with the main character?
I mean, no. It's just just who you think is the best supporting character between these two films. Obviously, that doesn't include Celine or Alice.
Okay,
but just the person stands out the most with you.
I'm going with Bill Nighy in Underworld because he is such a great actor. When you just hear his voice and he's like, "Who has wakened me?" and it's like, "Oh shit!" like and you see like a zombie vampire that's drinking, has all this blood stuff hooked to him, like, you know, bringing him back to life. And he is essentially like a father figure to Celine, but he's also kind of the main bad guy that she kills. And you know, we find out Lucian's actually a good guy, kind of. But he just, for me, even though he's not in the movie that long, when he does come into the movie, he just commands literally every scene he's in, even the scenes that he's in with Celine. It's like him. So yeah, we got to go with that.
Okay. Eric, how about you?
This one hurts because this is the there is no lying effect here on this channel. You know, don't get me wrong. I love Michelle Rodriguez, but I gotta agree with Kill and go with Bill Nighy because, you know, he's not Marcus. What was his character's name?
Victor.
Victor. Okay.
Victor, yeah.
Because he has such a presence. And he is so intimidating, and he does so much just by sitting there and talking. You know, he's an old man. You know, Bill Nighy. You know, in general, I'm not. You know, it's not disrespectful, but he's so commanding. You know what I mean? I hate to say I don't want to say he looks frail, but you can tell he's up there in age, but he's still so commanding and so intimidating. Even when he's back to his regular form, he's a dude you don't want to mess with. And he likes to play chess. He's got everything in place, and he's doing what he needs to do to get farther on in this hierarchy. And you know, he basically created Celine without her knowing, like being his little bodyguard type of thing. You know, while he sleeps. So he got to go with him big time.
Okay, all right. Real quick too in the chat, just to jump in here. Friday says the Red Queen. Philip says Michelle Rodriguez for me. It hurt to see her die. Yeah, that's a good point. All right, Coriander, how about you? Who would be your favorite supporting character out of these films?
You know, I am gonna say Michael because, like I said, I'm a sucker for like a good romance, and at first, you know, it's just interesting how their relationship develops into what it develops into, and yeah, I'm gonna go with Michael.
Okay, all right. I think there's, you know, obviously some good supporting characters in both films. Yeah, I think there's more in Resident Evil for me, so that's what I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with Resident Evil, and I'm gonna go with Rain, obviously, Michelle Rodriguez, because I'm telling you, when I saw this the first time in the theater, man, I did not expect her to I did not expect her to die, even when she got bit. And they were basically playing up the antivirus, you know, and I just like, oh man, it's got to work. And everything was leading up to that. And they actually got it. And then they're on the train and everything's looking pretty good. So I thought that was a really good way to just kind of like tear your heart out.
Yeah.
Just like, what the hell are you guys doing?
If it wasn't for Victor, she'd be my choice. I love that scene where she's just over the zombies and she's just, you know, teasing them like with the blood dripping on them, you know, little stuff like that to her character was good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Next up, the actress range. The actress range kill. So we're just talking about basically what these two ladies brought to their role as far as their angles that they provided. So who do you got?
As far as range, I have to go with Mila on here because for obvious reasons. At the beginning of the movie, she's not aware of anything. She's very innocent, naive. And as the movie goes on, she gets her memory back. You just see the different ranges of she's becoming the leader. She cares about everyone. She wants everyone to live. She is angry at her, you know, I guess, co-security personnel person who's pretending to be her husband. And sad when like Rain dies and so forth. And or every time she wakes up half naked and has to scream or pull things out of her,
The ultimate experiment.
Yes, yes. She is unfortunately like Ellen Ripley. She's going to eternally be fighting zombies and pulled into this stuff for the rest of her life. So yes, I got to go with Resident Evil on this one.
Well, there you go. All right, Eric, how about you?
I'm gonna agree with Kill. It's definitely Alice, and here's why. Because there is we said that there's more to her. Here's two scenes. When we first see her and she wakes up and one just shakes her and he's just yelling report. She's confused. She's scared. She's meek.
Mhm.
By the end of it, that final shot of her with the shotgun, you believe it. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
she's gone from that scared character to someone that you will believe will take on these zombies in the above ground with just a shotgun, and then literally air quotes, not that many clothes on her back. You know what I mean? She'll do what she needs to do to survive because of that progression. So got to go with her.
All right. Coriander, how about you?
So I'm going to go with Celine because she, starts out and she's like all about the vampires, okay, and all about killing the werewolves. And then towards the end, she's in love with a werewolf and she kills her vampire dad. So I
Mhm.
think what she goes through is way more than what Alice goes through.
Okay. All right. And
So
real
yeah.
quick too, in the chat, we got folks on both sides here as always. Kay going with Mila. Let's see, Philip saying this is hard, but Alice, I love how much emotion she shows.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Let's see, Dean in the chat saying Underworld. Danielle going with Kate Beckinsale on Underworld. Mila always just plays Mila. Yeah, well,
It works.
hey, check out The Fourth Kind. Check out The Fourth Kind because she was really good in that, and it
Mhm.
was nothing like her character of Alice. Let's see, Russell saying Mila loved her in The Fifth Element. Yeah, that's true too. Fifth Element as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, I think both of these actresses have done some good stuff and done things that are different than these two characters. So I want to make sure we give them some credit. Um, Friday saying Kate's emotions were subtle but was well shown. Yeah, absolutely. Especially at the end when she was against Victor. Yep. Elm Street's Last Brat saying Mila has the biggest transformation. Horror Cat saying going with Mila for this one, her arc and progression feels more natural. Celine, I didn't feel had a natural progression. Okay. For me, I think that, and you were talking about a couple of scenes as well, Eric, and obviously Coriander, especially at the end when Celine has to make that decision if she's going to basically, betray her kind, which obviously is a big thing for her because her whole life was predicated on fighting for the vampires and to basically kill as many lichens as she could. That being said, I got to go with Resident Evil because I think that with Alice, again, there was those scenes, and I thought about that scene too, right in the beginning when one was basically like, report, soldier, report, and just the look on her face, she's totally confused, totally out of it throughout the movie. She's showing, courage at the end of the movie. She has no clue what's going on. She's like, what the hell? She goes outside, the fucking whole world is destroyed. And she just says, okay, let's get ready, loads up the gun, and then it just cuts. So it's kind of like, wow, this character has truly gone through a really huge character arc that you saw multiple points in that arc. So it was really, really cool stuff to see. Okay, our next category. We're going to choose which film are we going with, Kill?
Kate Beckinsale.
All right. Eric, how about you?
I'm going with Resident Evil.
Okay. Coriander, how about you?
Underworld.
All right. For me, and it's all seriousness aside, both of these movies I really, really enjoy, but I gotta go with Resident Evil. It's just one of those movies that I just think that it did so many cool things. And I saw both of these movies in the theater and I can still remember the reaction with both of these films. And I'm just telling you, man, Resident Evil for me just edges it out just a bit. It's always kind of been that way for me. real quick too, and we got people in the chat all over the place. Danielle's with Underworld, Phillips with Resident Evil, Maze with Resident Evil, Fry Davis with Underworld, Kay's with Resident Evil. This is crazy stuff, man. Next category, Kill. We're almost at the end here. The finale, which is obviously the end of the film with Underworld. It's obviously the fight with Michael and with Victor, and then Celine coming in, making her choice. And obviously with Resident Evil, it's the battle against Spence, and they're on the train and fighting the Lickers, and obviously with Michelle Rodriguez. And of course, the stinger at the end of Resident Evil 2. So, Kill, which one you going with?
I enjoy both, but I'm gonna have to go with Underworld. And my reasoning for that is, other than Rain dying, which is sad because, you know, it was kind of a gut punch because we all love Michelle Rodriguez. The rest was just straight on action fodder, you know, with bad CGI. But still very entertaining. But when I think of the Underworld one, you have the love interest who now
Michael.
is Michael, who is half werewolf, half vampire. You have Victor, the father figure that's like, I must, you know, once again, I must do what I have to do and be the one that just kills this abomination. And she's like, Daddy, don't kill my boyfriend. And she has to kill her father, essentially. And that whole, you know, interaction was not only cinematic to me and deep and sad, but it also had great action. So I got to go with Underworld on this one. Just barely, though. Just barely.
Oh, okay. Eric, how about you?
I'm going with Resident Evil. I've already talked about the train scene, so you know you can add that to. I don't know what it is. I think I found the finale to Underworld just a little underwhelming. You know what I mean? I wanted a bigger battle between Michael and Victor, or I wanted a bigger battle between Celine and Victor, and she just gets one. I don't want to say one lucky swipe, but it's just, you know, and she's done. I love everything that happens in the train with Resident Evil, bad CGI or not, Killian. But I love that.
Right?
But again, you think they get away, and then that stinger. That's what I love. Umbrella still wins. You know, Matt is, you know, even if you don't, you know, I love the games, but take that out. What's the Nemesis program? What's he going to be put into? You know what I mean? And then again, that final shot of her with the shotgun, and you pan away, and it's just, you know, zombie apocalypse. We don't know what's going on. So the addition of the stinger is what gives Resident Evil the win for me.
Okay. All right. Coriander, how about you?
I am going to go with Underworld. You know, it for me was better. Yeah, there you go.
All right. Okay. For me, you know, I think for Underworld, I think there was some really cool action that started the finale, but to me, the finale was basically the battle with Michael and Victor. And one thing that you said, Eric, that I kind of agreed on, you know, I thought that the battle was going to be a little bit different. And expectation sometimes plays a role, and sometimes it's, you know, it's just subjective. But I thought that, you know, once Michael had gotten kind of hurt a little bit, and then we see, you know, Celine come in to try to save the day, because she was on the sideline trying to decide, you know, who is she going to choose, which was really, really some good tension. But I agree, man. I thought it was going to be a little bit more going on. I do think it was really cool when she took the sword and sliced him in half, and it was very stylized and stuff. But I did think it was going to, you know, do a little bit more. And of course, after that, it was pretty much done. So with Resident Evil, I have to give the point to Resident Evil, because at the end, you got the whole train sequence. And I don't care about the CGI, but you got the train sequence going on. But then you've got the stinger. It's like total mystery. It's like they got out of the hive, which, you know, you didn't really know if they were going to at that point, because things kept coming back at them for obstacles. And so then at that point, it's like you said, Eric, what's going to happen to your boy? He got Claude by the liquor, it's like, okay, so the Nemesis program. Now, granted, I knew the game, so I was like, oh shit, okay, you know, that's cool. But even if you didn't know the game, which is of course how we should really be basing this, you're like, dude, they're gonna do something bad with him because we've already seen them do all these experiments. And then it's still not over because then you've got Alice waking up in the lab, and it's like, what's gonna happen? You know, what's going on? You saw people watching her through the glass, and then when she comes outside, and it's basically that homage to Day of the Dead, and you see like the whole city block is destroyed, fires, stuff on the buildings. Like if you pay attention to it as they panned away, I thought that was a great shot too. As they panned back, even in the buildings, you see blood on the side of the buildings and all this type of stuff. So you're just already hyped up to see what's going to happen. So to me, it's gotta go to Resident Evil. It's gotta go to Resident Evil for me. All right, we made it. Let me just check out the chat. This is absolutely crazy. Elm Street / Brat saying Underworld's finale. Phillips going with Resident Evil. Let's see. Friday saying Underworld, so much going on in the finale. Phillips saying Resident Evil finally. I love how it sets up for Apocalypse. Let's see. Danielle going with Underworld. Okay. And Russell going Resident Evil. All right. Okay. All right, guys. So we are going to get ready to tally up the points. Let's see. And for any of you guys, this is the final call if you're going to do anything to help these guys. All right. So as I'm doing that, real quick, let's just have you guys giving your thoughts on what we've been talking about here tonight.
Well, look, these are both two great movies that started off two pretty great franchises. Despite, you know, my gripes with Resident Evil and how they took certain liberties, one liberty that they took that is not in the game and anywhere at all is the laser corridor. And that single-handedly is one of the most awesome scenes in cinema for me, period. With other respect, Underworld, you know, it seems like, Eric, you're like me. I love me a good classic vampire story. Now, this is not a classic one because they're shooting guns, but the vampire houses and the hierarchy, I love
the prim and proper type of stuff.
Yes. And I, just like you, I love Rise of the Lycans, you know, because that one really just tells so much of the background. But yeah, these are both great movies, and it was fun rewatching them. So
yeah, you know, our little jabs at each other notwithstanding, you know, both of these are great films. They're great action films. They're great monster films. You know what I mean? Say what you will about, you know, vampires. Vampires are monsters. Zombies are monsters. But what I think is cool is, you know, we get some really cool kick-ass female leads. And what I like about this is they're believable. You know what I mean? It's not over the top. You believe Celine can either kick your ass in hand-to-hand or blow you away. And I liked how Mila slowly came into her physicality. You know what I mean? And by the end of it, she's snapping necks and stuff like that and jumping off walls and kicking dogs and stuff like that. And great scores. You know, just even if you take the story out of either one of them, they're fun action movies as well. You know what I mean? Either one of these I can put in and sit down and watch, or I can put it in on the background, do some dishes or laundry, then sit down and watch like 45 minutes of it and still enjoy it, then get up and continue doing something. Great movies, both of them.
How about you, Coriander?
Oh, I thought you were ready. Are you? No? Oh, okay.
I think you're still counting.
Okay. Well, one thing we didn't talk about in like Underworld was how obviously Victor there killed Celine's real family. So for me right there, that makes it easy when she knows that it was the vampires that killed her family and not the werewolves. It was easy for her to turn. So I liked seeing her, you know, do what she did. So yeah. And with Resident Evil. Yeah, I mean, Alice, her character, yeah, you could tell that she was going to be a badass anyway, even though she didn't know who she was or what was going on. You could just tell. And I mean, the actress who played her, I mean, she fits her perfect. So yeah, she was enjoyable to watch in this also. So yeah.
Agreed. Well, guys, this might be the closest one of all time, bro. We have a score of
did you see there was just a super chat just thrown in, buddy?
Well, I already got the score, so hold on one second. I'll get to that in a second. From 32 to 33.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
32 to 33. The winner
I knew
is
it.
Resident Evil.
It
happened,
Damn.
bro. It happened.
And you know what? You know what? I knew it was going to win, and I know the question that it won by. The interesting lead question.
Hey, man. Let me get to the chat real quick. Now, guys, I said to you, we got, did Jerry? Oh, we got Elm Street's Last Brat came in. $10 super chat. Thank you so much, man. We appreciate it for Salif. Now, listen.
Ooh, that should count.
I already counted it up. I said, bro, come on now. Let's just be real.
Bro, be real.
I already said we were closing it up. So let me just say this for you guys. When I start counting, and I said you guys have to get those in. You have to get those in, man. So I hate to say it, but
what if his internet was like lagging or yours? That's not fair, man. That's not fair.
Stop it.
I
You just
love
say
it.
that because you want Underworld.
I love it.
Resident Evil pulled it out, kill. It happened.
Bullshit.
By 1 point.
I got a question for you, Kill. Does it
Shit.
hurt more that Resident Evil won by 1, or would it have hurt more if it was a landslide?
I'm not even sure. Well, you know what? I knew it was going to be close. I knew it was going to be close because they're both.
It was going to be close too. But
Yeah.
here's the thing. Let me just say this too. But we got to be honest about some of. I'm just saying we got to be honest about some of these things because, like, even when we have the bias and stuff like that, and that's what
I was honest throughout this whole fucking thing.
So was I.
All right.
I was 100%.
But I'm just
Don't
saying.
I'm just saying.
There was.
I'm just saying.
We all don't
Corey,
have the same opinions on shit.
No, I know that. But
So,
I'm just saying.
and this is
it was gonna be
bullshit.
close, and it was 1 point. 1 point, man. Wow. Good. So
Look at that
guys.
smirk on his face.
It happened.
There's a little extra oomph when he went wasn't there?
Yeah, he did. He'll be sleeping in the car tomorrow night.
The power.
Yeah.
No, but all seriousness though, this was really, really close. This was fun, and even in the live chat, these guys were pretty much down the middle as well. For each category, it was people voting on both. Which of course, they're both very, very popular franchises, man. So, but again, just to make sure that I'm clear with this, and that's why we say for you guys, if you're gonna do super chats, do them early, bro. Because once I'm finished counting, which I did finish counting before I saw that super chat. Well, no, let me just say this because these are the rules.
Dude, you've done it before. These are the rules. You break the rules all the time. Bullshit.
Any rules?
Bullshit.
All right. So, anyways, but for you guys in the chat, all seriousness, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We really, really appreciate it. It makes it a lot of fun to see everyone's opinions and the things that they vote on. So, anyways, also don't forget, guys, hit the like button. It helps to support the channel. We'd appreciate it. And if you're not subscribed to Eric's channel, please do that as well. We had the link in the live chat multiple times, but we also have the link to his channel in the description of all these videos.
Thank
and
you.
Also a whole bunch more on the channel. So
Appreciate it.
man, those are the rules. They are, man. All right, guys. So we will catch you guys later. Take it easy. We'll catch you guys later. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you're the Night Watch. Peace.
Cheers.
Peace.
Bullshit.